What's up, guys? Welcome back to TBN Off-Road. Today we are installing the TNT 8-inch stretch corners on my JK behind me. I'm super excited to see what these look like. I went ahead and removed the Motobill rocker armor that I had installed earlier. I went ahead and bought the full TNT kit, so we have the main corner piece in the back of the Jeep, and then we have the under the door piece that goes in front of it. So I went ahead and also removed the round taillight conversion kit that I had in the back, and I removed the gas tank bezel just for sake of brevity for the video. I'm going to cut out the taillight area so that the recessed TNT corner bucket can actually fit in there. Once we've got that hole made, I can actually slide the corner up and get it mounted to where it's going to be. We'll mark the radius cut and get to cutting. So super excited to see what these look like, so let's get after it. All right, I've just got it loosely clamped up there right now just to kind of get a frame of reference. So what we need to do is cut underneath. There you go. So obviously that slides back in. It's hard to tell from the video, but everything down here is going to need cut out. So I kind of marked it the best I could. We'll open up this taillight hole, and then once we can actually slide the bucket into the hole, then I can get a better idea of where all the holes are going to be and how the corner is going to sit on the Jeep. So there you guys get a little bit better idea of where we need to cut out to make that taillight fit. So it's a significant hole back here where the taillight used to be. I started kind of down through here and we just worked our way down. The bucket for the light ends up hitting out here and then in here, so it just kept getting wider and lower. That light does sit a little bit lower than what the stock light does. Okay, so we got the hole finished in the back. It is a lot of cutting. I'll show you that in a second. You can kind of see now where we need to actually start cutting the tub. Most of the stuff back here is double pane, so we're probably just going to cut the outer skin off, get that out of the way, and then cut the inner skin. So I went ahead and marked it. We'll take the corner off, and I left myself about a quarter-inch gap there so that we don't go too far and we can clean all that up with a grinder. I think down here I can just go straight up, but again, we'll get this cut off and just kind of see. But that's about where it's going to live. We did test fit the front piece and made sure that the rear was exactly where it needed to be. So we'll get to cutting. Okay, so that's probably most of the cutting. Hopefully the time lapse caught most of that. The biggest question mark was down here around the filler neck. All of this was boxed in. We basically kind of cut at the angle that the tire or that the corner was going to be at. We left that, and then we just kind of came in and recessed the full box. We didn't go all the way to the tub and down because we still kind of maintain a little bit of structural integrity up here. We might build some kind of little bracing here just so this isn't floating, but we'll go ahead and get the corners on and figure that out later. But that's pretty much it. I would recommend doing the outer skins first and then going back and cutting the inner skins. Obviously there's some big gaps up in here. We're probably just gonna fill that with some spray foam just to keep the tub from rusting from the inside out. But next we'll get the corners up here and start marking some holes and drilling. Okay, so we got it mocked up, clamped into position. You can kind of see how close the corners end up, but everything clears. We did, again, we test fit the front and it is perfectly flush right there, so it's actually a great fit. There is a gap back here. I expect that to suck in once we kind of get these guys in, and then our clamps got a little crooked, but it goes pretty much right to the tailgate. So next, I think what we're gonna do is we'll mount a couple of these guys just to hold it. And then as we suck the corner in, we'll go ahead and drill the other ones instead of drilling everything, which is what I did down here. And then half the time they don't line up. So that was Mason's genius idea. So we'll try that and see how it goes. Okay, so we drilled most of the flat, easy holes out that we knew we were going to either have a through bolt or a nutsert in. If you're doing this, you've got to buy this tool. Don't do the bolt and the nut setup. It'll never work. So we're going to get kind of half of these done, get the corner back up here. We've kind of got to compress this because you can see my tub has been beat up pretty bad. If you drill all these at the same time, then you almost are guaranteed to have a couple of these guys not line up, and then you're stripping them or they're cross-threaded. So we're fingers crossed we're not going to do that. So another trick, you can maybe see it, but I've got red Loctite on these nutserts. If you don't get them fully compressed, sometimes they'll start to spin once you get the bolt in. So the red Loctite, and you could use JB Weld if it's really bad, but normally red Loctite is enough to hold it in. Made sure we did not over drill these holes. I'm just going until that gets nice and snug. If you go too far, you'll rip out the center threads of these. Well, it's not going to be perfect, but she'll be good enough.
So we finally got this back corner all fitted up. That you get a series of through bolts and nutserts, and we decided how many through bolts can we actually get through this thing. So we were able to manipulate this one with some grinding. These were a little hard to reach, but you can get to them as through bolts, and so we only have to use either 2 nutserts here and another through bolt, but we're just gonna try and go get some longer bolts and see if we can get through that double pane that's right here. After that, we got everything all tightened up and secured, so now we are moving on to the rocker. And we got it clamped up so we can get it as flush to the body as we can and then get everything marked up. There are some dents in here, like we said, so we got to kind of just be careful, but everything is lining up beautifully.
Okay guys, that's it for the driver's side corner. Couple of these down here, we actually ended up running the longer bolts that are made for a through bolt. I'm short a couple bolts, so we'll buy some longer ones. They're 5/16 by 18. But man, it looks great. These body lines back here look great. We want to make sure we set the rear first because I wasn't sure how much play we would have front to back before we put the front on. So the front kind of under the door is what we'll move to next. Mason, if you want to come back here. So we had to clamp a decent amount of this to pull it over. We've drilled these holes, but there are double plating back there with a gap in it. So I'm going to get really long bolts and try to run these as through bolts first, and hopefully, it'll compress out a little bit, but we really just need to suck this corner over. But it is, tailgate opens and closes. It's right there at the edge of the tub. So it looks awesome. I'm super happy with these. We'll run a bead of silicone and maybe stuff some foam in the top here to just keep water and mud and everything from getting down in there. But yeah, there's one. So I went ahead and bought a little bit longer bolt, and I'll show you where these are going to go. So you can see 2 of those holes. Those are actually in like 2 pieces of metal, two plates, if you will. So the stock, or I guess the factory hardware that came with the kit, does not stick all the way through those holes, hence the longer bolt. There you can see we got the longer bolts in, and it is plenty of room. Those were 1.5 inch bolts, so it worked out great. Okay, I got super lucky and everything went in. I think there was one right there under the TNT logo that I did have to kind of re-tap because the nutsert was a little messed up, but that is it. Super clean. I think on the other side, I'll try to get this a little closer. At least it's a good reveal there, but that should be probably flush. But otherwise, there she is. I'm super happy with how that turned out. we'll move on to the passenger side. All right, guys, passenger side, it's had some previous damage from different corners and different sliders. So this side's gonna be a little more challenging because you can't really tell, maybe from this angle, there you go. You can tell that that whole body is caved in. I had an actual spacer behind the old armor that was there. This new armor is aluminum, so I'm hoping that I can just kind of bend it into place, but we'll start back with the tail light just like we did with the other side. Okay, everything's opened up. Body line looks pretty good. Got about the same reveal at the door that we did on the other side. So I went ahead and marked the radius. You guys can kind of see it in there. We'll pop the corner off and start cutting. One last thing I wanted to show you guys is right there is the kind of hinge mechanism for the tailgate. So the tailgate is fully closed, and I've got maybe 1/8 of an inch between that and the back of the taillight bucket. So it's a tight fit, but it does work. I know the time lapse didn't show it all, but everything is cut off. This back box, you just had to keep cutting piece by piece, and I went ahead and kept the structure up here just so this corner had a little bit of support. Went ahead and ground down that flush, and I'm gonna put the corner up here, and hopefully all my marks were right, but if not, we'll just grind a little more off. All clamped up. I measured the reveal between the rail and the top, and it's almost exactly 1 inch, and it's the same as the other side. And then I also measured, as I move everything, awesome. I also measured the distance from the seam back, and again, this has been smashed, so we're pretty close, but we're within 1/16 on both sides. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark holes. We'll do the same thing on the other side, where we kind of drill 3 or 4 holes just to kind of get it set, and then I'll mark and drill the rest. Front half is in. Everything back here ends up being a through bolt, I think, for the most part. So we'll go ahead and get it hung, get some in, then we'll clamp the rear and mark and drill those. So all of those are tight. It's sucked in nicely. I had to use a decent amount of clamps back here to kind of get this in the right place. This guy the whole corner wanted to stick out like this, so it kind of sucked it back in. I pulled it up with that top one and then kind of sucked the bottom down. So that looks pretty dang good. That body line and the reveal looks great. I'm gonna go ahead and mark and drill these holes, and we'll get some hardware in it. So I waited till the next day so you guys could have a little better light, but everything went in smoothly. The only kind of complaint, these guys are sticking out just a little bit because they went in at an angle, because back in here, those washers are sitting kind of on 2 pieces, 2 layers there. So not sure, I can't really get a grinder or anything in there to kind of smooth those out, but we'll see. Overall, pretty happy. We'll move on to the front. All right, everything's in. That actually turned out pretty dang good. This side's nice and flush. The other side had a little bit of a gap in it. This line ended up great. That still has a little bit of fudge factor. Obviously, when these come off to get painted, we can line it back up. But the only thing I couldn't get in down here, because there's such a gap behind here, like my whole finger can stick back there. I was trying to use a longer bolt, and it hits whatever is behind the nutsert. So I had a 2-inch and then a 1.5, so I really just need like a 1-inch bolt. So I'll pick one of those up, throw that in. But the body lines on this ended up being great considering everything is smashed behind it. So overall, super happy with it, guys. All right, guys, so the last thing we have to do to finish these corners is to install a new gas cap. the way the radius cut was, we had to lose the factory gas cap with an 8-inch stretch. So this one, I honestly cannot remember the company, but it's an aviation style with the chain, just a 1/4 turn, black anodized. The back is a 2-inch diameter. I took calipers and actually measured the fill neck. It is also 2 inches. I've got a 2.5-inch hole saw to get over this initial bezel. I've kind of eyeballed it. This is obviously the scariest part because you only get one shot at this. Luckily, there is some flexibility in the filler neck. It's all metal, but it's not really attached to anything, so it'll float a little bit. My biggest concern is how deep this goes, and the neck is going to be pretty close to it, and it comes up at an angle. So if that flex hose doesn't work, I'll just go get a 2-inch elbow. So I've kind of eyeballed it, measured up, made a couple marks. I really just got to drill the hole and go from there. So wish me luck. This drill sucks. And I lost the chuck. Cool. I don't know if that's gonna work. Clearly not. I have to go buy a chuck. All right, got a drill chuck. Let's try again. I have safety glasses on. Perfect. Okay, hole is made. Gas cap's right there. How about that? That's pretty perfect. Okay, I think ultimately I need to take the corner off and remove some more of this metal so I can actually trim the filler neck. So there's a vent line back here. My light. So there's a vent line that runs down. All of this is metal. And there is, if you can see, a small tab up there. So I pretty much have to grind that down and probably cut the fill neck at about there. Because, hang on, well, it's hard to see. The new filler neck comes right in there. I got a 45 as well, but I need to shorten the filler neck so that we can let that work. So I'm going to take the corner off and see what I can get access to. Okay, so I went ahead and cleaned up the corners, got all that extra metal out of the way. My current plan is I've got a 2-inch hose. This outer diameter is 2 inches. So I think what I can do is sawzall right back here to get rid of this tab. The hose won't fit over this anyways, and the neck of the filler sits to about right here. I've got another 45 hose that I bought that I can try. I'm gonna stick a shop vac in here and just suck all the metal shavings out that I can. I was trying to obviously avoid sparks because I can smell gas as it comes out. So fire extinguisher is standing by, but that's my current plan. I think if I can just cut this square, it should leave me enough that I can really just attach those two and be good to go. We didn't die. Sweet. That wasn't too bad. Okay, I messed around with the hose for a little bit. I'll show you that in a minute, but I went ahead and set the cap in there. I center punched the holes. We'll go ahead and drill those out. Make sure that it mounts well, and then we'll slide the hose on and then mount it for the final time. Okay, I've got one in just to locate it. I moved a little bit, so I've got a basically a drill bit that's the same size as the hole. And pretty much eyeball that and then just try to drill through it. Okay, so I set the hose on. I've got it clamped down It'll focus. There we go. It's clamped down. The top clamp is on. I'm going to try to slide the filler neck in, and hopefully it'll shove back enough so I can put the hardware in. Okay, that's pretty much seated. Get the hose clamp out of the way. I'll slide that up when we're done. Might work, guys. Do the hard one first. Back. These are so tiny. If you close your eyes, it helps. Oh my gosh, I actually got that on. Wow. Well, I got everything tightened. Surprisingly, it wasn't too bad. There is, let's get some light on it. There's the hose setup. You can see it comes through. Nice little 45 down to the filler neck. This ended up tightened okay. So I won't know obviously until I fill it with fuel, but that remains stock. So just one little elbow. So overall, not too bad. Well guys, that's it. Everything went together pretty easily. I'm super happy with how it turned out. It looks great. Obviously we're gonna get these paint matched down the road, so not completely done, but at least wheelable for a little bit. We've got a whole build series going on with this Jeep. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check out that playlist. Also check out our Instagram and Facebook. Those links are in the description. So let me know what you guys think. If you got any questions, hit us in the comments. Thanks for watching.